All right, what's up, everyone? We are live here at SmileCon, Nifty Thrifty Dentist podcast. I'm super excited to have a VIP guest, the co-founder of Zuub himself, Robert Kim. Robert, how's it going?
Good. Glad to be here, Glenn. Thanks.
Man, so, when I think about Zuub, it's like Zoom, but with a B.
That's the best way to pronounce it.
Yeah. So, no, for those who don't know what Zuub is, what do you guys do?
So we do revenue cycle management automation. And what does RCM automation really mean? I think that can mean a variety of things depending on the context. So at Zuub, what we do is we make sure that you have all of the right data up front in your practice so that you can do things like accurate treatment planning, online bill pay, and that all starts with the right insurance information. And so automating the insurance verification and the insurance information is really where we start the cycle and is our sweet spot.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, I don't know about you, but in my practice, that's always a headache, right? Insurance verification, figuring things out. But you guys have done it in a way where it's automated. So again, talk about the process behind that. Because again, when we think about that, human error comes into play and whatnot. Most people don't know what they're doing when it comes to RCM. So again, having that is so important. So talk about the thought process.
You know it about as well as everybody here, right? Where the average practice will spend anywhere from 20 to 40 hours a week minimum in verifying insurance, right? And there are typically a couple of different ways that you're doing that. You're either having people who are checking on payer portals, or they're God forbid calling payers and wasting hours in trying to verify a patient, right? So when we saw that as the norm, we said this is insane. We've got to help these practices out. And so what we've done is we've developed a process merging everything from what you can get kind of in the basic insurance verification of what they call EDI 270, 271. This is the data that you get back from an exchange. Taking that in, providing that automatically, but then also layering on top of that, all of that drudge work of what you would get from a payer portal, automatically pulling that data back in.
Wow.
And then as well as deciding, well, of all these different data sources, who's really true? One of the things that a lot of practices come back and tell us is like, Rob, if my front office staff sees an inaccuracy in the data that you pull back, that's game over. You've lost their trust. Yeah. So one of the things that we've learned is who is really that source of trust across these different payers, and it's different by payer. And that's one of the values that we bring back to the office.
So, obviously what you guys are doing is super important in the practice because, again, I mean, you got to get paid, right? That's the big thing here in dentistry. Now, I want to ask you this. What's your background? Because, a lot of times there's a story there, right? You're dealing with all these crazy dentists here. We got all these different problems, different issues here. But here you are, you're working in the dental space. What's your background?
So I came into dentistry and software and technology a little bit different than most. I actually started in medicine. I went to medical school. Then I was a benchtop researcher, did stem cell research for a long time, then made my transition into software. Yeah. A natural transition, of course, right? Started working with tech companies, and for the past 25 years now, been in the startup space. One of my stints was with a company called Futuredontics, which most people know better as 1-800-DENTIST.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And we came there to help them modernize during a recap event that he did with Bain. It's about 11 years ago. And myself and my other co-founders were all Futuredontics alums.
Yeah.
This was our initial introduction into dentistry. I left and became a founding team of another startup, which we later sold. And when I came back to the team, this is when we decided, you know what, we need to do something to help out these dentists with these problems that we identified earlier. So we came back.
So Fred Joel is the reason why you're in dentistry then? Pretty much, right?
Yeah, that's
pretty much, right? Marketing, but now you're doing this. Now, again, 4 years in existence, right? And again, you work with not only single practices, but also DSOs as well. So what are some of the things that we can expect down the line? I mean, can you share anything with us to come on the pipeline?
Sure. So the number one issue that our practices, regardless of if they are the individual solo practices or if they're your 1,000 plus location DSO, it all comes down to speed and accuracy of that data and completeness of the data.
Yeah.
And what we're really striving towards is to get a home run across all three of those. 100% of the data that you need as quickly as you need it, and when you need it. So today we can do that with about 70% of all of your major payers, and what we're doing ongoing is to continuously knock down the remaining 30%.
Wow. So no, look, I have an amazing entrepreneur up here. So of course I'm going to have to ask you some entrepreneurial questions, right? You've been part of a bunch of different startups. So I'm going to ask you, we're going to pivot a little bit and we're going to come back to Zuub in a little bit, but let me ask you this. So give us an entrepreneurial tip, right, that you use. It could be an app, a product, a strategy that you would recommend to other budding entrepreneurs.
So entrepreneurship is probably the funnest thing that I've ever done in my life.
Yeah.
And the
more fun than going through medical school.
Absolutely more fun than going
just
through
want to
medical
make
school.
sure.
So the thing that I think that entrepreneurship does is that you have to wear a dozen different hats, sometimes simultaneously, sometimes serially, and the context switching, it can be extremely disruptive. You either thrive in that environment or it's not for you.
Yeah.
But for those of you where that's something that excites you and it's that constant change and that constant day-to-day, well, now you need something to help you navigate throughout all that chaos and that change. So for me personally, it's lists, not an exhaustive 1,000 item list because you're never going to succeed.
Right.
So the thing that
like a checklist.
Right.
Okay.
And I try to keep myself as honest as possible. I keep two. One is for this week. What are my top three? Now, I try to limit it to three because if you do more than three, then you're likely never going to do any of them. Because if you focus on the top three, what I found in myself is that I check myself along the way, because come Monday, I identify the three things I wanted to have accomplished by Friday. By Tuesday, there are a dozen other things that have come in and said, look at me, I'm a higher priority than those other three things that you said yesterday. Well, then that gives me the ability to go back to say, well, I told myself that these were the three things that I needed to do. Now let's just shelf these until I can get these three things done. I think that's the hardest thing in entrepreneurship, because it's a lot of block and tackling, and your priorities are, they're too many.
There's always something going on. And would you say that it's multiplied if you're going through a startup?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what kind of startup, a dental startup, a tech startup. A startup is your attention, you're getting called from multiple different directions, and it's the hardest thing to do is to decide, what will I do now?
Right. I love that. That's great advice here. Now, I'm a big reader, right? So again, everyone that I have on the podcast always asks, what's a, and you got to pick one. It's hard for me to pick one, but you got to pick one, a business or self-help book that has been really impactful for you. You got to pick what your first thing that comes to your mind.
First thing, this is easy. It's Crossing the Chasm. It's actually a product-related book. It talks about the paradigm of early adopters versus your early majority, late majority, and it basically teaches you that when you have an idea, when you have a product, invariably there will always be somebody who might be interested in that product.
Yeah.
But now you have to ask yourself, well, is this something that everyone will like?
Right.
Or is this someone that only a really small group of people are going to like? And that's been instrumental.
So, and the book is called what again?
Crossing the Chasm.
Crossing the Chasm. I'll have to put that on my Audible list there. Okay, so a lot of times when we look on social media, we follow different entrepreneurs, successful entrepreneurs, we just see all the highlights, right? We see all the great things they've done, but we don't realize that all these entrepreneurs, they had a lot of failures. They had a lot of mistakes. I mean, again, if you were like me, you probably made plenty of mistakes. Share one mistake that you made that you really learned something important from, that our viewers and audience can learn something from.
Wow. I only have to choose one?
You have to only choose one. I mean, I'll give you some grace. Maybe you pick a couple. Again, if you're like me, you made a bunch of mistakes. I can list a whole, but try to pick one or two that you learned something significant from that people out here could learn something from.
I think that the biggest mistake, I'm going to go back to my last company, is not realizing sooner that the product that we had was geared towards the audience that we were not going after. So let me give some context. We were trying to solve a really big problem, and the problem that we were trying to solve was to understand what consumers were doing. Right. And we went into it with the understanding that we wanted to help mom and pops. We wanted to help all the small business owners to be able to know the depth of customer information and relationships, just like Google does, just like Amazon does, and we wanted to level that playing field. That's what we went into the business. That's what we wanted to do. So we lined up all of these. We had thousands and thousands of mom and pop customers, and we had this product, but our biggest challenge was that they weren't ready to use the product.
Right.
And we struggled with our internal desire to really help that group of business owners, but the product wasn't fit for them.
Yeah.
And then we struggled for years and years and years in trying to make that decision. It was actually about 3 years before we finally decided, you know what? This is an enterprise product. We need to change gears. As much as we wanted to help mom and pops, we need to go after the enterprise customers.
Yes.
So that's how we ended up going with Chipotle, Home Depot, Lowe's, and those were the customers that ended up signing up for our product, and that's when the business took off.
Wow. Well, I mean, that's really important. I mean, again, a lot of times whenever a lot of companies here, they're here because there was a pain point, there's a problem, and they wanted to solve it. But sometimes when you're trying to solve a particular problem, it's maybe not a problem that people want solved, right? And you learn that there. Before a follow-up question to that, before you guys made that realization, how far along were you guys? I mean, was that something fairly early in the process, or was it something where you just kind of struggled and finally said, okay, we just have to pivot here?
I think we had already raised 2 rounds of funding.
Wow.
Based on our initial premise, because we were able to get customers.
And for the people who are watching, when you say 2 rounds of funding, let's put it to dollars. How much was raised?
So by that time, we had raised about $5 million.
$5 million. Okay.
And we built this business with $5 million over the course of 4 years. By that point in time, we had thousands of customers, but we realized that those customers weren't using the product the way that we expected them to use, and weren't getting the benefits that we thought that they would be able to get. So even though we were able to sell the product and we were continuously getting new customers, because they weren't using the product the way we had intended,
right,
we actually decided at that point we're going to fire our customers.
Wow.
We had to, of course, downsize the company and change our approach because the salespeople that you would have to try to go after an SMB is not the same salespeople that you go after to go to court Chipotle or Target or Lowe's, and that was really hard.
Yeah. I mean, there's relationships there,
Absolutely.
Right? Relationship. Well, that's something that we all can learn from. So thank you so much for sharing that. Now, if you can go back in time, if you can get in that DeLorean, hot tub time machine, phone booth, go back in time, and you can go back to any point in time and talk to the younger version of Rob, what would you say to him?
I would say take risks faster.
Take risks faster.
Yeah. So my personality is to analyze problems and get as much data as I can.
You come from a science background,
I do.
So I'll give you some grace here. You come from a science, so that comes with the territory.
Right. I am all about gathering as much data as I can. And oftentimes I convince myself there must be more data out there. So I go out in search of that extra data, and
the analysis
part of it. When I see the results of the analysis staring me at the face, I just refuse to accept that that's all there is. So even though I can make a decision, I refuse to make the decision at that point in time because I'm in search of more data.
Yeah. Yeah. So again, the advice to yourself is, just do it.
Just do it.
Just do it. I mean,
Yeah.
again, it's not just a shoe slogan; it's a way of life sometimes. Okay, so last question when it comes to entrepreneurship and whatnot. As far as what you're doing right now, what are you most excited about in the future? And I'm not just talking about Zuub. I'm just talking about just the trajectory of what you want to do with your career in life. What are you most excited about?
The thing that excites me every day is the fact that we have the opportunity to build a company that helps everyone in the ecosystem. So, a lot of people go into business for reasons of passion. Some people go into business because they want to make themselves rich.
Yeah.
Well, I think that the businesses that are the most impactful are those that are passion businesses, that you firmly believe in the product, you firmly believe that there's a benefit that you want to share with customers, with clients, with patients, and that there's something that when after you're done, the world is going to be a little bit better. Honestly, I feel that Zuub is in that path, and that any other company that I take on from this point or sometime in the future, I think that's what really excites me. More than anything
Purpose,
else.
a bigger purpose there.
Right.
Again, I respect that. Now, we're going to switch back to Zuub real quick. And again, for someone who's interested in working with your company, working with a platform, what's the steps? Obviously they're going to reach out. What are the steps? Because for those who are watching, they're curious. Like, okay, how am I going to weave this into my current workflow? Is someone going to lose their job because we're automating their job? To walk us through that.
Sure, great question. So one of the things that we understand intimately about the way that the best way that we can help our practices is not to add work.
Yeah.
If you have to go somewhere else to download something, or you have to type something in, or
more clicks,
that's not going to work because you guys are too busy.
Right.
Everyone is too busy, and so that's our core focus on our product. We take work away from you so that you can focus on things that are more productive for the practice. When it comes to the process, you raise a hand, you take a demo, and our team, from our sales reps down to our implementation personnel down to our CSMs, they will walk you through the entire process, let you know what we can and can't do, set you up with an integrated sync agent that will pull the data from your practice management system, as well as push data back into your practice management system. And the system can work automatically behind the scenes. If you prefer to just work within your PMS and you never want to log into Zuub, you can do that.
Really?
If you want to work inside of the Zuub platform, you can do that as well. So there are different ways that you can take advantage of the platform depending on what your workflow is, what your bandwidth is. So we try to make it work for as many of the use cases as possible.
So, for a practice that's using Zuub, if they literally want, like, we're so busy, our team members don't have time to manually do anything, much less click on anything and whatnot, could they take literally a hands-off approach, and then the data that comes in is going to be in their PMS? Is that how, basically, I'm probably simplifying it, extremely simplifying it, but is that how it works?
Essentially it does. I mean, there's going to be instances when the data doesn't exist. Right. So keep in mind, Zuub is a 100% technology-based solution. We don't have humans behind the scenes at a call center making phone calls, trying to grab data.
I'm glad you brought that up, because a lot of times when people talk about AI, they talk about automation, it's not true automation. There's somebody in another country typing in the data. That's called outsourcing. That's not automation.
Exactly.
So Zuub is different.
Zuub is 100% technology-based.
Because we probably know some of those companies, right?
We do.
They're like, we do automated. And no, you have somebody in another country and they're literally implementing, they're typing it in, and you're saying that it's automated. So we know those companies. But Zuub, it is automated.
It is automated. And so if the data exists in some electronic format somewhere, we can go get it. And that's the level of automation that we do. Now, if the data doesn't exist in an electronic format somewhere. And a PDF is electronic, right?
Yeah.
So if it exists in a PDF, if it exists on an exchange or anything like that, we can get that data for you. If it happens to be a payer that doesn't have a payer portal, and there are still a few of those, and you have to make a phone call, unfortunately, that's not something that we can automate for you.
Is that going to be something on the roadmap?
That is something on the roadmap.
Again, I mean, if we're talking about AI, right?
Absolutely.
I've demoed a few products where they would actually make phone calls, answer. There's one I was just amazed that it literally was a AI-driven auto attendant. But again, spending time calling the insurance company, trying to get some info on the insurance plans, that takes up a ton of time.
And
right?
it can be painful. I'll keep the payer's name out of it, but we know specifically of several payers who their agents are incentivized to cut calls within 5 minutes. They can't allow a single call to go beyond those 5 minutes, to the point where...
Wait. What happens after 5 minutes?
Oh, they will just hang up.
What?
Yeah, they will hang up.
Okay, so offline, tell me who that is. I promise I won't.
And the other side of it is we've had some payers who have trained their agents to know enough about dental codes to say, why do you need that code? Why do you need to know what the limitations are for that treatment? The patient's coming in for a prophy. You don't need that code. It's gotten to that point for some of these payers.
Wow, that's amazing. I think, again, I'm glad that that's on the roadmap. I think that's the biggest pain point. That's the big reason why someone would want to work with Zuub, because it is painful to call the insurance companies to get that breakdown. Mm-hmm. It's painful for my team. It takes up a lot of time. You have to bring in others. And then, of course, there's third-party services. That's all they do, not the cheapest thing, too. But I love the fact that you guys are leveraging technology, and I love the fact that that's on the roadmap, right? That's on the roadmap there. So for those who are interested, and again, there's a special deal here at the show, right? But I would say this: the best thing to do is reach out and get some more information. Hopefully, you guys have an idea. We brought one of the co-founders, right? But if they're interested in reaching out and possibly working with you guys, what's the best way to do it?
I would say go to our website. It's Zuub, that's ZUUB.com, and fill out your interest form there. Let them know that your practice information. Our team will reach back out to you. Please let them know that you heard us on Nifty Thrifty Dentist, and then we'll make sure that we apply you a special discount for the product.
I love it. And before I let you go, back home, what's your favorite restaurant?
Oh.
And what kind of food?
Okay.
Because I'm a big foodie, and something I do all the time with all my guests is I need to know where their hometown, what's the best place to eat so I can try it out. And if it's terrible, I'll make sure I send you a DM saying how bad it was. But tell me, what's your favorite place to eat back home?
Okay, so it is a hole in the wall.
Hole in the wall, okay.
It's this lovely Taiwanese couple, and it's called the Oakland Tea House.
The Oakland Tea House.
Yeah, so this is a suburb of Detroit, and they bring amazing Taiwanese home cooking into this restaurant. Service, in terms of their speed, not so. It's like your mom is cooking for you, right?
Right.
She's not going to be the fastest, but they're the sweetest people, and the food is amazing.
No, I don't know about your mom, but in my house with my mom, it's like whenever she gives me, you get what you get. It's on the plate. Is it kind of like the same thing? Whatever you see on the plate, you just eat it. You don't argue back.
No, it's not like that.
Okay.
But they do have a set menu, but the food is amazing.
What's your favorite things at this tea house? What's your go-to dishes when you?
Oh, their baos are amazing.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Like barbecue pork?
Yes.
Or okay.
Yes. And they make the buns themselves there. So the husband.
So it's not one of those God forbid buns you get at Costco.
No.
I mean, I just shake my head when I see that. So they actually make these buns.
They make them themselves.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, great. Okay. Well, again, when you're in Dallas, I'll give you my favorites. Or when next time we do this, I'll let you my favorites. But I'm going to put that on a place to go. So again, Robert, thank you so much for jumping on.
Thanks,
I appreciate it, guys. Again, reach out to Zuub. Tell them about the Nifty Thrifty deal, and they'll hook you up. So thank you so much.
Will do. All right. Thanks, bud.